Okay. Um, Part of my role is to help establish right view in students. Right view is the first step in the Noble Eightfold Path. If we carry wrong views and we're students of Buddha Dhamma and we're intent on practicing the way and we hold wrong views, then the path isn't going to work. If the first step is wonky, then we're already off beam. So part of my job is to help establish right view. And we had a very interesting conversation at the centre on Wednesday, at the meeting there, and I'd like to continue that conversation or like revisit the conversation. I'd like to start with a quote from the Dhammapada and then ask you for your contributions, what you think about this quote, what it brings up for you, what it implies, what it's pointing to in terms of the Buddha's teaching, and any objections you might have towards it. The quote is this: "Those who, for the sake of their own happiness, bring unhappiness to others, thereafter do not find happiness. Those who, for the sale, that is the renunciation, the letting go, the sale of their own happiness, brings happiness to others, thereafter finds happiness." So I'll give you some time to think about that. I'll just say it again. Those who, for the sake of their own happiness, bring unhappiness to others, thereafter do not find happiness. Those who, for the sale of their own happiness, bring happiness to others, thereafter find happiness. What do you think? So if we could use the icon at the bottom, raised hands icon, if you'd like to say something. Leslie, hello.
Greetings.
Hey,
Um,
how are you?
I'm okay, thank you. It's really putting it in a different way that if you're undertaking actions that are unwholesome, um, which are harmful to yourself or to other people, then the consequences will be harm to yourself. Whereas if you're doing wholesome deeds which are for the benefit of other people, and if that includes yourself, okay, but that will result in wholesomeness in the sense that you'll get a positive response as opposed to a negative response to your actions.
Yeah. And would you say, Leslie, from your experience, that that pans out?
Yes, but sometimes not when you think it's going to.
Oh,
Not
indeed. That it doesn't state, it isn't time bound, it doesn't state when
yeah,
we'll experience the results.
yeah,
It's just saying that depending on the intention behind your actions, and essentially what it's saying is if the action is out and out selfish,
hmm,
your own happiness as a consequence of creating unhappiness for other people, the consequence of that, at some point in the future, there will be unhappy conditions for you.
yeah,
And if the actions are relatively unselfish, excuse me, meaning that you're putting others, the needs of others, to the fore, not all the time, but when you do, the consequences of that is you're laying the conditions for some time in the future to experience happy results.
yeah.
Yeah. Um, What's not to like? So what can you see that in the world? Who would like to talk to me? Can you see that in the world? Is this something that you can observe? Put this another way. Can you see that people are doing both? Ellen, hello.
Hi. Um, yes, it's clearly not all one way or the other for any individual. Um, I guess in my experience, I can think of people who primarily act maybe in the one way for the sake of their own happiness. And I think of other people who, for the sale of their own happiness, you know, but nobody's purely acts one way or the other. And what I picked up on in what was just discussed was how, as you like the word intention, but I think often it can be like unconscious, like in any given moment, in any given situation, you're in a transaction with a person and it can be so unconscious, I think, which choice you're going to make in the instance.
Does ignorance of the law make any difference in its?
No, in its impact down the
Yeah.
line. Yeah. No,
No.
no.
So even though we might not be self-aware enough to know that we're acting in one way or the other, we might not reflect on it at all, doesn't mean that we're laying the conditions for our own future.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
Good point. Yeah.
Would you, Alan, would you agree? Or I shouldn't load it like that. So even though people are unaware of their actions in the world, people are nonetheless acting in the world, both selfishly and relatively unselfishly.
Mm-hmm.
And they might not be aware that they're actually laying down the conditions for their own future happiness or unhappiness. Is that?
Absolutely. I mean,
And as Leslie was saying, we cannot know when those conditions will give rise to that result.
yes, I always find that part confusing. Yes.
Why? In what way? Sorry.
Well, in what way? I don't find it confusing, I guess. It's makes sense to me. And it's a matter, I think, of having faith sometimes that it works that way, that if in the future there's going to be a set of conditions that will bring forward the resultant.
Okay, well, let's put it around the other way.
Okay.
Have you ever, or has anyone in the chat, anyone here this evening, have you ever had an occasion of meeting with good fortune for which you could not identify an immediate cause? Did I put that very strangely?
No.
Hi, Mark. Did you want
I'll hand over to Mark.
to pop in?
All the time. I meet with pleasant conditions for which I don't know the cause. I guess it happens loads.
Yeah. And would you say that you meet, again, I don't want to load it, but you know where this is going. Would you say that in your life you have met with unfortunate circumstances without knowing quite why or how that might have happened?
Of course, I do find it easier to see that in others.
Well, that brings us up into a whole new set of questions. So you see others' misfortune as being kind of like spontaneously arisen kind of thing.
Yeah, I see. I guess I see in others the kind of the refusal to accept the current conditions.
Yeah, but that's a slightly different thing, or that needs handling. You know, it's got its own branch leading off the trunk there, because that is the implication. Because there is this there can be this temporal gap between the performance of the action and the result. Without understanding, without having right view, it can be really easy to fall into a whole set of traps.
Yeah, I mean, an example of a pleasant resultant, I suppose, related to meditation practice is, I was going to say, when you read something in a book, in one of the Arcana books, and then you continue your practice, and then a year or two later you read the same chapter again, and you have a whole greater depth of experience and understanding, and suddenly what you're reading is like, oh yeah, that's exactly right, because I've experienced that. And that is an obvious example of a link between putting in the action of meditating every day for a year and then some wisdom arising. I don't know, it's a very good example actually, but do you know what I mean? Sometimes the link is kind of like, well, I don't know exactly when.
Yeah, it's very tenuous.
Yeah, but you sort of know that, there is definitely a link there. Okay.
I should definitely have thought of a few more examples if I was going to introduce this subject than I actually have. So I'm kind of just depending on everyone to help me out here.
I guess what I mean is some quite a lot is habitual, isn't it?
Some of it's habitual, yeah, but there's also atemporal, which means, like, okay, so to get a little bit more technical, there is this unbreakable continuum of conscious experience. It's non-continuous. It means there are moments of experience, rising and passing away, moments of experience. So all opposites are contained within that continuum. There's a rising, there's the passing away, there's birth, there's death, there's time, space, everything is within that continuum. But that continuum itself is unbreakable. And so the whole notion of rebirth is tenuous in the sense that actually there is just this unbreakable continuum of things arising and passing away. And so the action is performed at one point in that endless continuum. And then at a certain point, when the conditions allow, the result happens. So it's dependent upon the conditions being right for that result to arise. And that result can arise in immediate succession in that continuum. In any point in that continuum you regard as one life, but that continuum goes beyond one life because all breaks are contained within the continuum. So all arisings, all passings away, all births, all deaths are all part of that continuum. So it could arise in the next moment, anywhere in this lifetime, or anywhere in subsequent lifetimes. And what it requires is the right supporting conditions. If the right supporting conditions come together, you get the result. And so this is critical to understand in order to become acquainted with right view. Because wrong view doesn't understand this at all and thinks that people just got lucky, or thinks that they've been hard done by, or become envious or resentful, or they fall into the trap of believing that other people are being punished for something because the conditions that they meet with are unfortunate. None of which is the case. We all meet the conditions as the continuum continues. If the right supporting conditions arise, that result accrues. And so people who don't understand this fall into wrong ideas such as privilege, that people are somehow privileged to have the conditions that they have. That's a wrong view. Now, for somebody out in the world, it doesn't matter. But for people who are under training, it's so critical to understand this. That if somebody meets with unfortunate conditions, it's because at some point, somewhere down the line, there was an action or a set of actions that were performed that were, to come back to the Buddha's quote, undertaken for their own happiness, not bearing in mind the happiness of anyone else. And as Leslie pointed out, there is a point at which there's no ability to recognize the action and the result. So somewhere along the line down that continuum, the right conditions come about for that unhappiness to arise. And because of the temporal gap, the time gap, there's no knowledge of what the action was. And wrong view, ignorantly grasps after those conditions and will say, this should not have happened. It should not be like this. So in their wrong view, they then reinforce the sense of opposition to unfolding reality, because reality is wrong. Or somebody meets with tremendous good fortune because they behaved in the past, they had behaved in a way where they forewent their own happiness for the benefit of somebody else's happiness. There was an atemporal gap, or a temporal gap, sorry. So knowledge of the action is lost, but the result arises and they meet with good fortune. They're born beautiful. They're born into relatively wealthy conditions. They're highly intelligent, wherever it might be. And so they have a happy set of conditions to work, a happier set of conditions to work with. And people say, that's wrong too. That's wrong. How come they're born with all these things and I'm born with all of this? And it leads to envy and resentment. So there's resistance. So either way, there's resistance, because it's coming out of wrong view. But once you establish right view, you go, oh, I don't have to be burdened with any of that. I don't have to be burdened with telling reality that reality is wrong anymore. Because reality is a lot bigger than any of us. And we will never win that argument. And so there is this perpetual disharmony that people experience, this sense of burden, because everything is wrong, when in actual fact, everything is arising exactly as it should, given the past actions and the present supporting conditions. And so right view, and for people who want to practice Vipassana, who want the wisdom to undo the causes of suffering, you have to establish right view. Otherwise, your practice will not go. If you're maintaining resentments, believing that somehow people are being blamed, or people are being punished, or people are privileged and they don't deserve what they've got, then your practice won't go anywhere. It won't become anything. It will stop. Because to move forward would require you to abandon the wrong views. So either one or two things happen. Somebody stops practicing, or they continue practicing, but it never really amounts to anything, or they surrender their wrong views and adopt right views. Oh, I've got some hands up. Leslie.
It's a case of accepting what we are now for what we have been. and moving forward with the understanding that whatever we do now has a consequence, and that consequence can either be good or bad depending on whether it's wholesome or unwholesome.
So would you not say that you've got your hands on the most incredible life hack?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
It gives direction.
So your future is in, if you accept the right view and you abandon the wrong view, life becomes dynamic and alive. Your future is not dependent upon other people and what they do. It's dependent on your actions, and you get to choose. If you practice mindfulness, if you practice mindful noting, you start to become aware of which are the actions that trip you up, which are the actions that produce the unhappiness, and naturally you stop doing them. And you start to become aware of which are the actions that produce the happiness. And you think, well, okay, well, I'll do more of those then. What is not to love about that? Leslie, was there another point you wanted? No, you're good. Jay, hello.
Yeah, hiya. Since I first raised my hand, my head's a bit meshed now because you said lots of other things, and so Leslie, they all resonated, and I might struggle to remember my first point. I think it was more about, I mean, I struggle with aspects of this, but I've kind of.
Okay, what do you mean by struggle?
I suppose belief around when it moves beyond this life into another life of rebirth and the flowing of karma and
Well, why are you're practicing vipassana in order to see all of that?
Yeah, and that's what I was going to say. I'm not. I suppose
can't put the cart before the horse.
Say again.
Can't put the cart before the horse.
No, exactly.
It's just openness, Jay. It's just openness.
Yeah.
You don't have to believe it. You just have to not disbelieve it. If somebody actively disbelieves it, if they uphold wrong view, it's not going to go anywhere.
No, and that's what I was just going to say. So I suppose, some individual learning over the last couple of years has been to try and drop that opposition and just sit with it and to see what be, right? So that's the sort of stance I'm taking. But I was going to say to you, I think the thing that sometimes triggers too strong a word, but makes me get a bit stuck is when we say, I'm not sure if you've said it, but I think I'm sure I've heard others say it, the idea of chosen this or the other. And sometimes in certain contexts, I find that a hard concept to grasp because especially if you're saying that people are often ignorant of the fact of the impact of actions.
Yeah, doesn't mean they're not choosing it.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not saying, and then it's also, how literal we get with that. And so, but I'm just trying to.
What do you mean literal?
Huh?
What do you mean literal?
Well,
we are talking literally, aren't we?
I think so, but I think there's degree. I just see so much nuance in all of this, and it's kind of like, it's more easy to observe my experience of life, the ramifications of some of your own actions in the same life.
That's all that matters.
Yeah, sure. But when people are talking about people choose this or choose that, and if it's a negative scenario, then that's linked to actions of a previous life. Then that's where it gets a little bit more tricksy,
In what way?
Because that feels quite moralistic and quite judgmental.
Why? No, you're adding that. Why?
It may well be, yeah.
No, not even maybe.
Okay.
It's not a moral argument. It's not even an argument. It's not sure. The morality of it comes from whether the actions are selfish or relatively unselfish. But the actual process itself is as impersonal as the law of gravity, which is why I use the example of throwing an egg in the air.
Yeah.
If you throw the egg in the air, it's not a personal affront when the egg breaks.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the mistake everyone makes.
Yeah.
Is they believe that somehow it's being judgmental and critical, but it's not. That's what they are adding in. You are adding that in.
Yeah.
I'm not adding that in. You are.
Yeah.
The Buddha isn't adding that in. You are.
Yeah. Well, like I say, I just will sit quietly with and think about it more, in a sense, because like you said, that's the
Well, thinking is overrated. I would heartily suggest meditating.
Yeah.
Practice mindful noting.
Yeah.
And you will come to see yourself, and this is something we can get onto, the order in which the process actually happens. And when you see again and again and again the action and result happening in your conscious experience again and again and again, endlessly happening, and it's the order is the same every single time, then just the sheer weight of perceptual information that's gathered means, oh, okay, this is how it works. And it's not then a matter of belief. It's not a matter of points of view. It's just you go, oh yeah, this is actually how it works. Yeah. So better than thinking. And I absolutely agree. Being open, letting things settle, letting things percolate. Yeah, some reflection, but most important of all is direct observation of the unfolding of conscious experience, because that's how you get to see it actually operating. Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jay. Hilda, hello.
Hi. Yeah, just a reflection on this, really, from what I've seen. So if I'm more mindful and sort of more open, and there's more right view, and I'm in a happy state, then it's so much easier to see see like the positive in the little things, and see the results, the positive ones. And it's like it's easier to see negative results, but like to just note them. Whereas if the mind is in a more distressed state or something, everything seems more negative. It's just like when it's more open, there's more nuance, basically.
One thing to bear in mind is the Buddha's 5 points of mundane right view. The first of which is generosity yields wealth.
Yeah.
So why did he put that first, do you think?
I've never thought about that.
Yeah.
What's the first one?
You're not gonna. Well, because it's so easy to test it. Wealth comes in many different ways. Comes back to us in many different ways. It could be financial, but wealth of well-being, fitness, health, energy. Generosity yields wealth. So whatever you do in terms of generosity, it's like allowing your time to be used in service to something, your energy, financial things as well, your know-how, and offering that in service of others in order to bring them happiness, even though it might be a bit annoying, whatever, that will yield its dividend. And so the Buddha puts that first because anyone can do it. Anyone can check that out. Anyone can test that and find out whether actions do have results. The practice of loving kindness. If you want a relatively quick result, you want to see how you can change the conditions almost instantaneously and experience a happy result, practice some loving kindness.
Yeah, and that's what I think it becomes so obvious, because it's so it's instant.
It's the most wonderful life.
In the eyes of other people, and it's just interesting how it's then it's quite obvious looking at other people, but
I mean, you look at the world through the media, social media, and you look through the lens of what the Buddha's teachings, what he has to say about operating for your own happiness at the cost of other people's, and you can't help thinking, because people cannot see the connection between the action and the result. They don't know what they're storing up in terms of the conditions. They have no idea what they're storing up, and that should be a source of compassion for people, because they're going to experience in another lifetime, they're going to experience perhaps another lifetime the results of their actions in this one, and they're going to wonder why life is being so horrible to them. And they're not going to know. They're not going to understand what it was that led to it. On the other hand, if we choose, as individually choose to practice generosity, service, helpfulness, kindness to others, we know we don't have to be concerned about the future. We know that our actions are going to produce happy results. It's a major life hack. Peter, hello. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you, Paul. Paul, I wondered how the concept of accident manifests in Theravada Buddhism. How does that fit in with responsibility and karmic action?
Well, it's how you respond, isn't it?
But like a car crash, or
yeah, it's how you respond.
But if somebody dies because of a car crash, for example, is that because of their Vipaka in a past instance, or is it just because somebody else wasn't paying attention and they run into you? Or
well, the reasons, it's like none of us have the mind of an historical Buddha. It is impossible for us to trace the conditioning phenomena that went from that action that led to this result. This is why I said it's not about the result. It's about how you respond now.
Right. Yeah.
So if I have a prang in my car, then my go-to response, having calmed down a little bit, is to say, oh, thank goodness. Thank goodness this result of past unwholesome behavior has materialized with this set of conditions, because given a different set of conditions, it could have been so much worse.
Yeah.
And I have I've chalked off some past negative karma, if you want to put it that way. So, because what it's about is about my response now, and my narrative of life unfolding in harmony with unfolding reality, not in opposition to it. So if I'm in opposition to it, I'm looking for someone to blame. I'm looking to, get revenge. I'm resentful, I'm all that kind of thing. If my response is like, oh, this is happening because of some past action that I couldn't possibly know now, but I'm really glad I've got, I'm experiencing the painful feelings, and I'm happy to experience the painful feelings like this because it could have been so much different.
Yeah. But hypothetically, for example, if someone loses their life through no apparent fault of their own, when there isn't the time to respond because you're dead.
Well, actually, you're not dead, but
well, no, you're not dead, but you're kind of in between rebirths or whatever. But
whatever.
It's getting my head around that sometimes. It's getting my head around by sort of accidental.
Don't get your head around it. Stop.
It's probably unnecessary.
You don't have to get your head around it.
You're right. You're right. It doesn't have to.
It gets in your way.
Yeah.
It gets in your way. Stop trying to get your head around things. Stop trying to resolve things. Practice.
Yeah.
Practice the way.
Yeah.
Thinking is overrated.
No, you're right. It just creates problems you didn't even know you had, basically, doesn't it? So
yeah, you've just created a problem that you've now got to solve. It's just unnecessary. If you understand the process.
It's interesting because like a friend of mine, a good friend of mine, came into a lot of money, an awful lot of money, because of quite horrible circumstances, whereby she was a photographic journalist and so was her husband, and her husband unfortunately was killed unlawfully in the Ukraine by the Russian troops, and it's sort of all going into court and everything like that. And she came into a lot of money through insurance and trying to sue the news company that put him out there. And now she can't cope with the fact that she's got an awful lot of money because she feels it's blood money. It's because somebody's died, her husband. And it was just quite a complicated story to be as empathetic and as supportive as I could towards her. Because
you know what I'd do in that situation? If it was me, I would reflect on the fact that actions have results.
Yeah.
I would be grateful for what had come my way, and I would probably give a percentage of it away to good causes.
Yeah, yeah.
As a way of demonstrating, really important point, demonstrating a lack of attachment to the money.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, coincidentally, she is extremely generous with her money.
There you go.
It does help people. But
so it's how you use it. It's not, we can't help it. We will get results. Yeah. We are getting results. As we go through life, we are all getting results.
Yeah.
It's how we respond, because that's the only area. It doesn't matter whether you understand what that action was that led to that result. What's important is that there is a willingness to accommodate and roll with, not fight against. And in rolling with and practicing non-attachment to, that gives then rise the opportunity to practice. So if you have come into some wealth, material wealth, then to practice some generosity.
Yeah.
It's like, and then that there is no, you see, this is the important thing. Then there is no moral quandary.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just that acceptance.
It's the moral quandary comes from wrong view.
Yeah. And the non-acceptance that everything is actually just as it should be. You're right. Yeah.
Absolutely is. Yeah. Good.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks, Peter. John, hello. Nice to see you.
Hi, Paul. Hi. Just my thoughts on what you were saying. Just spent a lot of my existence this time round trying to look after other people and do right by other people. Just sort of naturally gone out of my way, put myself out for other people, only to find myself taken advantage of. And quite often, when there's nothing left to give, people disappear. So I've not really found the wealth from putting myself out for other people, which has caused me to withdraw.
Yeah.
You
see, because if you demand it, it isn't going to be given to you.
Yeah.
Because you're creating a different set of conditions through that demand. That demanding is selfish.
Okay.
Yeah. If you abandon the need to experience the result now,
okay,
then your good actions for the sale of your own happiness, you brought happiness to others.
Yeah.
Clearly you've got a mixed bag there. They didn't express their gratitude to you or whatever, or they just disappeared, whatever. But if you have performed for the sale of your own happiness, you've brought happiness to others, thereafter you will find happiness. But remember, he didn't specify when.
Yeah. That's the problem, because what it can do.
So what are you going to do? Never help anyone again?
That's where it's got me. But I'm trying to change that by doing my metta practice, and it's taken me to a place before I knew about this where I completely withdrew from everybody and just saw everybody as a taker and a leech, and these horrible things that just eat you away.
And did that help?
And it just closed me in. It just closed me in and made me quite afraid of the world, really.
Okay, so you're willing to change your view?
And now I'm trying to learn and undo all those knots that I've gotten into.
Great.
The practice. It's hard work. I'm sure other people.
Nobody said this was easy.
Happen as well, but it's just hard to switch that around. And
it takes time, but you clearly are doing that.
Doing it, yeah. Maybe I've had to pay for things from a past life. Who knows?
Well, we don't know, but does seeing it in that way open things up for you?
Yeah. I see it's doable. I'm just sort of saying. Yeah.
Rome wasn't built in a day. I don't know how long it took, but it wasn't a day.
Yeah.
And so we don't have to worry about the results of our good actions.
Right. Okay.
We just meet with life. Life is producing all these results. We experience all the ups and downs and the good times, bad times, whatever. It's about how we respond.
Yeah.
And so it is an ever deepening learning about how these things work. And with mindful noting and becoming more aware of our actions and more aware of what actually comes our way, we learn about which are the things that genuinely lead to our happiness and do more of them, which are the things that lead to our unhappiness and we genuinely do less of them. And the balance shifts, and over time we become happier. Life keeps on surprising us with these little gifts that have come from our right actions. We are generating supporting conditions that make it more likely that good results arise and painful results don't arise. Yeah, so we're creating the conditions as we go along. And practicing metta, as you're doing, I think is an absolutely fabulous way of demonstrating the effectiveness of what we're talking about.
Yeah.
So just keep going, mate. Keep going.
Yeah. I think that thing about faith comes in here, doesn't it? It's sort of develop when you're quite new to all this, like I am. It's kind of developing a faith that what you're doing is actually gonna do it, make things better, and it's sort of that's the journey in itself, I think. And
yes, and when
part of my journey where I'm at now, sort of believing that it's going to actually work and make me feel better.
Yeah, it will reach a point where that faith is replaced with confidence.
Yeah,
because you're just getting too many indicators that it's working.
Yeah. Things have changed. Things have changed a lot, and sort of reaching out more and trying not to be Mr. Angry like I was a while ago. So it's helping.
Keep breaking down those walls.
Yeah.
And the more you do, the more you realize that, it's like life will reflect whatever we give it. Mm-hmm. So if we give it loving kindness, it will respond. It's like a mirror. It really is. It will respond in kind, definitely.
Yeah. Thanks, Paul.
Right. Brilliant, John. Thank you for that. Jason, hello.
Hi, Paul.
Hiya.
Hiya. I just wanted to reiterate the point of how the past life view and action and result are sort of so linked, because I've got a friend who I'm not sure if I don't think he's sure if, about past lives or whether he believes it to be true. And he sees a lot of injustice, and it sort of frustrates him because he sees people apparently. I mean, the example I think of is Jimmy Savile, where you see someone that's obviously done dodgy things, and then he seems to have died, and he's got away with it, And then...
America seems to have its own Jimmy Savile now. Yeah. No one gets away with anything.
Yeah,
because it's a continuum. There's no break. Well, there is break, but the break is within the continuum. The continuum itself is unbreakable.
Yeah.
So the more we practice, let's get into it. Let's get into the condition-dependent origination side. So when we practice meditation, there is a resultant side, the passive side, which is the arising of hearing, of seeing, tasting, touching, and smelling, the arising of a thought, the arising of a feeling, that there are these sensory contacts that occur, just one after another in succession. That's all the resultant side. And then in response, we act. There's volition, the acting, the wanting things to be different, or whatever it might be. So there's a passive side, which is the resultant side, and then there is the active side, where we are acting, we are volitionally choosing, willing, trying to change, manipulate, do things. And that is going on perpetually. And what one discovers through the practice of insight meditation is that process is happening all by itself. And it's got no discernible beginning and no discernible end. And everything within it is arising and passing away. And that is the whole of conscious experience. And so you can have the passive side and the active side. And so if somebody simply practices for long enough, they start to recognize that that is indeed the case. And I distinctly remember the moment where I went, oh, there's no first beginning to this. There's no end point to this, because all beginnings or endings are within it. It's endless. That means heaven only knows it's a timeless process. And so, and going back to Jay's point, I understand that people won't immediately be able to comprehend that. But if you practice for long enough, you start to see it. And then that takes away all the doubt about rebirth. You see that it's just this endless continuum of things arising and passing away. So I absolutely understand that the world, riddled with wrong view as it is, believes in this thing called injustice and privilege and all these trendy terms. But it's the more you look with clear seeing at what's actually happening is that everything is unfolding as it should. If you throw the egg in the air, it's going to smash on the ground every single time. And you going, well, it shouldn't be like that. It just doesn't make any difference.
Mm.
And life becomes, because he's burdened, yeah?
Mm.
This idea that
absolutely.
Yeah. Whereas somebody who walks this path is progressively unburdened by all of that, and is free of all of that.
And it's that trust that the justice is naturally inbuilt into the system. You don't have to be the one dispensing it, which is a relief.
What a heavy burden that is.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And the world will be what it is. I mean, this teaching goes against the stream. That's what the Buddha has said. And it clearly does. Because outside of this context, if somebody not familiar with the Buddha's teaching listens to what I'm saying, they're going to be very triggered, because they've got all these beliefs and all these views, and they hold tenaciously to them, and they hold tenaciously to the idea that life's unjust, and it's just such a heavy, heavy burden. And it's unnecessary.
Yeah.
But it's going to be like that. We're not going to, I'm not here to proselytize. I'm not here to change people's minds.
But it's that the thing that if you drop that view, you're lighter. Your life is just lighter. It's so it makes sense. Why hold on to things that give you a sense of heaviness and suffering? And
I think because it gives people a sense of identity, which itself is a burden. But because people are so mired in wrong view and are so separated, they're constantly having to fashion an identity, because otherwise they don't exist, right? And they think they don't exist. And so I can see where the addiction to views comes from. It's the attempt to clothe the idea of self in something. But it doesn't work. It makes for deep unhappiness, and people act out of that unhappiness, and they perceive that, it reinforces itself. It becomes a vicious circle where they have to try even harder to change the world to make it look right.
And then that reinforces the injustice.
Yes. Yes. So you start seeing it everywhere and in everything. Yeah. But again, this is all unfolding perfectly because people have to go through all of this in order to find out where it takes them. And at some point, maybe some wise reflection comes in and somebody says, maybe there's a different way. And so this is why we have to allow people to suffer. And people mistake that for somehow being indifferent or lacking compassion. But no, it is the compassionate response. It does. Saying you allow people to suffer doesn't mean that you wouldn't lend a hand. Obviously, lending a hand is fundamentally embedded in the Buddha's teaching. Keeping precepts, developing the parami, developing compassionate service to others is an integral part of the training in lessening self-concern. But you have to allow for the fact that people will suffer.
Mm. I just, as you said that, I just had the thought of, you can kind of hold someone's hand, sort of, what's the word? Not literally, metaphorically. You can hold someone's hand whilst they're going through what they have to go
exactly
without trying to stop it.
You're not trying to, because you're not coming from a place that it shouldn't be happening. When you're coming from the idea that it should not be happening, you are burdened. When you're coming from the place, well, this is the nature of reality, actions have results. I really feel for this person because they're going through something really, really difficult, but I know they've got to go through it. How can I help, ameliorate their conditions or help their conditions? But so you are more able to help. Okay. Thanks, Jason.
Thank you. Thanks, Paul.
Very good point to bring up. Ellen, hello. Oh, you haven't unmuted.
Generosity yields wealth, you mentioned, was like the first on a list of 5. Is that the one where actions have results?
Yes.
Parents. What are the other 2? And what was the name of this list?
Good test for you. Mundane right view. 5 points of mundane right view.
5 points. Right. Okay. 5 points of mundane right view. Okay.
So it's rebirth. So
and rebirth, of course.
In the books, it lists it as there are spontaneously arisen beings, but essentially we can say, well, that's rebirth. And then the 5th, there are teachers that know about all this.
Oh, yes, of course, teachers. And I was curious that you reflected on how generosity yielding wealth was listed as number 1. I hadn't thought of these particularly in any order.
Oh, there's no accident with the Buddha's teaching. Everything is put in its place for a reason.
So
if you go through it, it goes, generosity yields wealth. Actions have results. There are mother and father. There are other realms of existence. There are teachers that can tell us about these things. And which is the pivot? There are mother and father. Why? Because of our past actions, that laid the conditions, the choice, the conditions to be reborn in the family we were born in and the early life conditions that we were born into, which then leads us into the rebirth.
And teachers. Oh, very good. Okay, thank you.
Was that it? Oh, you just wanted the list. Okay.
Yeah, and the ordering and make sure I had it right. Okay, thank you.
Which, sort of is a callback to what we were talking about a couple of weeks ago. People's experiences, the familial relations. Claire, hello.
Hello.
Hiya.
I really resonated with me what you was saying before about the being free or letting go of the burden of view, if that's the right way of putting it. Because I was thinking about I got ripped off by a builder, as quite often people do, and not an enormous amount of money, but enough to
yeah. And
I thought, oh, it doesn't matter, I don't have to blame myself, I'd just let it go, and it wasn't that much. that helps a bit, but it's like, I think before it would have been, oh my God, I'm so angry with them, it reflected on me as a person,
Yes.
I shouldn't have let it happen. I'm going to get rid of, I don't know, just a whole mire of stuff.
Mm.
And then you can just, and what you feel towards them as well. And then you just let it go.
Yeah.
It's lovely. And the other thing was, I talked about it with somebody as part of the Sangha, and they just had that innate understanding as well. And that was really lovely. There was no kind of blame or oh my God, or it just like,
Yeah.
am I making sense? This sort of,
it's amazing, isn't it? It's just a change in the narrative.
Yeah, just like let it go.
It's like this painful feeling I'm experiencing because of all of that is part of the resultant side. And now I have the freedom to choose how I respond because I practice mindfulness. I see these painful feelings. I know the painful feelings are transient. I know that the habitual arising of, say, resentment is part of the resultant package. Yeah, I'm experiencing the results, but now I get the choice as to how I respond. So it's not even denying the habitual response of, say, resentment. It's including that. It's saying, oh, okay, that comes up too.
Yeah.
But now, like, I see that and I recognize that. I note that. I'm not looking to resolve it. I'm not looking to resolve that issue anymore.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. There's no burden whatsoever to resolve it. I should have done it. It's not an attack actually on the identity.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Good point. Very good point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So just wanted to add that if it's helped.
Yeah, no, that is a really, really valid point because you're right. We do see it as an attack, or as punishment or something.
And shame.
Oh yes.
And it's like, well, yeah. So what you said about identity it's all linked. That's the world that we're caught up in, really. That we go then kind of try and counter it. We do counter it with the practice.
Yes,
it's a sense of identity and
yes. There's the more you understand the nature of action and result, and you're practicing the way, the less you feel you need to create a persona to offer the world, the less you feel obliged to create that identity, and so you find there's so much more spontaneity and freedom because you're not having to uphold an image of yourself, either to yourself or to the world. And so when you get these painful resultants arise, they no longer reflect your worth, because you're no longer invested in that image. And progressively that image just falls away.
Yeah.
And you're so much more spontaneous, and in the moment because of it. So yeah. And also we know that, no one can get away with anything. And so on our own part, in terms of the negative, resultants that arise, we're like, well, thank goodness it came out in this. Well, thank goodness, Claire, you only lost that amount of money, a different set of conditions, and it could have been so much worse. But so you've burnt off that past karma. Good for you. And we also know that regrettably no one can get away with anything. So although that person who ripped you off might feel like, they're winning, they're actually losing. So, and we don't have to therefore hold a resentment to them. We can actually feel compassion.
Yeah.
And don't that feel so much nicer?
Yeah, just let it go. It's just don't feel embroiled in it, really.
Like I still get, memories come up of past behavior that cause me to cringe and things that have been done to me that make me go, Arr! But that's it. It's like it never becomes anything else. It's just like, oh, and then it just falls away again, you know.
But society, I think I see more that society is constructed to really try and make you hold on to that view of yourself and to really invest in it. And there's something wrong if you try and step outside it or step. It's very interesting.
No, you're absolutely right, because the world is imbued with wrong view.
Right.
And so it has to try to make everything right. And so everything that we get through the media, the whole of life is set up imbued with the wrong view. And so that's why having a Sangha is so important. That's why having the Buddha's teaching is so amazing. What an amazing gift it is for all of us. And we've got this opportunity to correct our views and see life as it really is. The world will go on being the world and doing its thing. But we progressively we can just find ourselves free of it all. Okay, I think we should leave it there for this evening.
Thank you.
Thank you all for your contributions. I hope that was helpful. I certainly enjoyed it, which is obviously the most important thing. No, not really. And we'll get together in a couple of weeks.
Thank you.
So for now.